and welcome to our community. This is a social media style platform where you can share your makes, connect with other sewists, and use hashtags to browse patterns and materials. I'm Kate from Minerva, and I'll link my personal profile down below so you can follow me here if you're interested. I am so glad you're joining me for this video. We're going to be looking at how to make the Deer Doe Fumeterre Skirt. I did 3 different versions so that I could show you every different part of this pattern for you to be able to make whatever view you're looking at. Before we get into this, I did just want to remind you to sign up for a Minerva account. You get a sweet little discount code and it is totally free. It opens up a lot of opportunity for you to connect with other makers, so I highly recommend it. And if you're looking for something a little bit more, check out the Minerva Craft Club. This is going to give you constant savings all year long. And if you could hit that follow button above this video, right above our name, that would really help us out. It just means we're going to show up on your feed so you don't miss any future videos or photos that we put out. And if you have any questions or comments, make sure you leave them below so I can get back to you. Okay, so what you need for this pattern is obviously the pattern. You need some fabrics. This is a woven pattern. I did some in a drapey fabric and I also did some in a more structured fabric. So you're gonna see both versions and be able to choose which style you like better. This is a long, full paneled skirt, so you're gonna need 3 or 4 yards of fabric depending on how wide your fabric is. You're also going to need some interfacing. I am using the light Easy Fuse soft interfacing for this project. If you're doing the version A with the buttons, you're needing 11 buttons. And if you're doing version B with the zip, you need a zip. The pattern recommends an 8-inch zipper. For version B, you also need 1 button. And both views require half a yard of 1-inch elastic. And the fabrics I've chosen for these skirts are the Meat Milk Smooth Drape Tencel Twill in Warm Sand. The color match thread for this is Gutermann 658. These are the buttons I'm using for this skirt. I'm also using this beautiful Lady McElroy cotton lawn in the Marley print in the magenta colorway. And the color match thread for this is Gutermann 387. These are the buttons I'm using for this skirt. Finally, I'm using the So Simple cotton batik fabric, and this is colorway 107. And I'm using Gutermann 232 thread for this fabric. This is the zipper I'm using for this skirt. So both of these skirts feature 8 panels coming together to make this beautiful full skirt. Version A features a button closure all the way down the front, as well as some belt loops. Version B features some cute little pockets on the side and this zipper fly front. So I kind of mixed and matched things for these skirts. The one skirt that I made has pockets and belt loops and buttons down the front. The Lady McElroy skirt just has the buttons down the front, and then the cotton batik has just the zip fly front. I actually had intended to make the pockets for this, and I did make the pockets, but I forgot to stitch them in. I might go back and add them in, we'll see. So the pieces we need for this skirt are 2 front panel pieces. On the zippered version, it'll be these curved out zip fly pieces, but on the buttons, it'll just be a straight front. You'll also have your 2 pocket pieces and 2 pocket flaps, 1 fly shield. These are the 4 front waistband pieces and they all need to be interfaced. And then we need 2 back waistband pieces. We're not going to interface these. Then we need our 2 back facing pieces and our 2 front facing pieces, 4 side skirt panels and 2 back skirt panels. So once you have your fabrics cut out, the first thing we're going to do is get our pieces prepped. So for the button front skirts, version A, we are going to interface down the entire length of the front pieces on the straight cut side. We're going to make a mark 1.5 inches from the edge, and we are going to apply our interfacing on the other side of that mark. So not towards the edge of the fabric, but towards the inside of the fabric from that mark. Our interfacing is going to be 1 inch wide and the entire length of the skirt pieces. Press that down and then press the 1.5 inch side of the fabric over that, Then fold in 1/2 inch of that and press that down so that it's underneath the fabric that we just folded over. So it's kind of like a double fold hem. And really, whichever order you do the folding in doesn't matter as long as you have this nice clean finish. Then you can top stitch down that little button placket we made. If you're doing the pockets, you're going to attach the pocket flap with the right side of the pocket flap to the wrong side of the pocket. And we're using a 5/8 inch seam allowance throughout this whole project, so go ahead and stitch that down together. Then we're gonna open that up and press the seam allowance towards the flap, then turn the flap to the right side of the pocket and press it all down nice. Fold under the edge of that pocket flap so it has a nice clean finish. I used about a 5/8 inch fold here. We're going to top stitch that flap down, then we're going to press the bottom of the pocket under to the wrong side by 5/8 of an inch. Take that piece to your front side piece, matching the notches, and we're going to attach these to the skirts just on the sides with a 3/8 inch seam allowance and along the bottom with a edge stitch. Now for version A and B, we are going to attach all the panels together. So this can be kind of tricky. Make sure you are transferring your notches. Make sure you are attaching flat sides to flat sides and the angled sides together. That's gonna give us this nice round conical shape. You will know if you do it wrong because they won't match up nicely. We're gonna press all our seam allowances towards the back of the skirt. I did finish all mine with my serger. You could also top stitch these all down if you wanted that kind of look. I think that would be really cool in like a denim or a chambray, something where you want more detail and you really want those seams to stand out. Next up is the waistband. We are going to take the 4 front waistband pieces and interface them. All 4 of these, we want them to be interfaced. Then we're going to start with the outer waistband and take the back piece and 2 of the front pieces and attach them right sides together so we have one long strip. We're going to do the same thing with the inner waistband, except we are going to leave a gap in that stitching so we can later feed elastic through there. Just make sure you are back stitching at the beginning and end of these stitches so nothing comes undone. And you want to make sure you're going at least 5/8 of an inch down from the top and up from the bottom so that when we actually stitch it all together, we're not having holes or anything like that. If you're doing version A with the belt loops, you're going to take the 4 little belt loop pieces and fold them in half lengthwise. I like to press mine just so everything's nice and on grain. Then I'm going to stitch down that open side using a 3/8 inch seam allowance. And we can trim away that excess and turn it right sides out and press them. I decided to press mine with that seam in the center back versus along one side. Then we can take our outer waistband and make sure we're watching those notches again and match up those belt loops with those notches, and then we're gonna baste them in place within the seam allowance. So maybe at about like a 1/2 or 3/8 of an inch. All right, we're gonna switch gears to version B with the zip fly. Take your fly shield and fold it in half, wrong sides together. Now we're gonna finish down that wrong side edge and the bottom. With that finished edge on the left side, we are gonna lay our zipper on top of that and stitch it down. Next, we're gonna finish the entire length of the front pieces, so around that curve and down to the bottom on both pieces. Then we can lay them right sides together and stitch up the flat part right up until that curve starts. Then we can press the seam open and those curved parts open. We wanna make sure we're leaving a 5/8 inch seam allowance here where those curves are. So now we're gonna turn the fabric to the right side and we're gonna lay it down right side facing us. And on our left hand side, we're gonna tuck the zipper underneath the fly extension, which is those curved pieces, and top stitch it down. Now we're gonna zip up the zipper and carefully pin everything in place, including the fly extension. We are only gonna be stitching down the fly extension and the zipper, so be careful that you're not stitching through the front of the skirt. If it helps to baste here, that is definitely an option. Now we can open this up and zip down that zipper and then stitch the fly extension to the zipper. Then we can close it all up again and top stitch around that curve on the right side when we are looking at the skirt. You can add a little bar tack or satin stitch if you want for reinforcement. Okay, next up is the waistband. We're gonna start with the inner waistband and we're gonna pin it to the inside of the skirt with the right side of the inner waistband to the wrong side of the inside of the skirt. Make sure you're matching up the side seams here. Join that up and then press the waistband up, including the seam allowance. Then you can take the outer waistband and put it right sides together with the inner waistband and stitch around 3 of the sides. We want to make sure we are lining up those front edges. Then you can clip the corners, and I also pinked the entire waistband just to reduce bulk, and then I flipped it all right side out. Press everything really well and turn under that bottom 5/8 of an inch so it's just covering that seam line there. Then you can edge stitch it down. Attach a horizontal buttonhole onto the skirt front and add your button. Next, you're going to take the 4 facing pieces and attach them all together. Again, these are curved, so make sure that you are getting them in the right orientation. Ask me how I know. You can then go ahead and attach them to the bottom of the skirt. For version B, where we're doing the zipper, so the bottom of the skirt is attached all the way around, we actually need to attach the facings all together so that they're in a loop and then match them up to the bottom of that skirt. For version A, we're just gonna sew them. So what I did is I matched up the centers and the side seams, and then I sewed from the center out to each side so that I made sure that everything was lined up nicely. We're just gonna kind of fold things in so that they line up nicely at the bottom with the facing there. We're then going to understitch this seam allowance to the facing. So this means we're gonna open everything up, press the seam allowance towards the facing, and then stitch really close to that original seam line. Now the top of this facing, you can finish it in really any way you want. You could hem it, or you could use some hem tape, or you could use your serger, or zigzag stitch it or pink it. Then once it's folded in, we're just going to either top stitch that down with our machine or use a hand stitch so that it's a little bit more inconspicuous. Then we're gonna do the buttons if you're doing version A, so just bear with me if you're doing version B. We'll get to the elastic in a second. So all we're going to do is follow the markings on the pattern piece, or make up your own depending on how many buttons you have and how far down you want the buttons to be. I like to do all my buttonholes at once, and then I do my buttons one at a time to make sure that everything is gonna line up nicely. So with shanked buttons, I have to sew them on by hand, as you can see here. But with flat back buttons, I can sew them on with my machine, which I much prefer. All right, now the elastic for both versions. Take your piece of elastic and thread it through that back opening. Stitch in the ditch on one side of the elastic to keep it in place. Put the skirt on and then tighten the elastic to see how much you need to take off or not, and then stitch that down and you're done. I hope you enjoy your new skirt. Thank you so much for watching, liking, sharing, following, and commenting. I cannot wait to see what you create. Happy making!